which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. We're going to start with our acknowledgements, and I will have to move my place just so that for the cameraman. No, it's not on. Good morning. We are going to do an acknowledgement. It is for the GFOA Award. For the fourth year in a row, JWB's accounting team was awarded the esteemed GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for our FY22 JWB Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, which you can find on our website on the budget and financial pages if you would like to take a look. The GFOA, or Government Financial Officers Association, established this prestigious award in 1945 to encourage and assist state and local governments to go beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles. Considered the gold star in financial reporting, the award encourages the preparation of annual comprehensive financial reports that evidence the spirit of transparency and full disclosure, and then recognizes individual governments like ours that succeed in achieving that goal. Please join me in congratulating Laura Lynn and her staff that were involved in documentation and submitting our award-winning comprehensive financial award report. And Ms. Brock does have further statements.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, thank you. Yes, yeah, we're very excited that the accounting department was able to receive this award for the fourth year in a row. When I came on board, we were just submitting for the initial year. It's a fairly comprehensive report. I have been on the other side of the house as an auditor, and I'll tell you, the review checklist is about 100 pages that they go through and check off. I just wanted to recognize Lynn's unit and just tell you a little bit about her unit. The accounting department has had zero turnover in the last several years. And collectively, the four of them have 57 years of employment with JWB. So I'm telling you, they've demonstrated a commitment to JWB as well as the knowledge and understanding from the accounting. So Lynn has got 20 years experience with us. We're also recognizing Richard Godfrey, our senior accountant with 10 years. Ann Crawford, our accountant, has been here 9 years. And Lilia Plentif, our fiscal specialist, has been here 18 years. So I would like all of them to come up and accept this award with me. We're good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Lynn. Good job.
I got to say, my first career was as a CPA and a CFO and so on. We never get applause like that, which also tells you something about that group's sort of reputation within the organization. They're much beloved and support a lot of so much of what we do. So, thanks.
Next, we have our consent items. If I could have a motion for approval.
So move.
Do I have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next up on the agenda is our action items, and the first thing is to approve the community council appointment. If Ms. Garcia would come up to the podium, please, and thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yaridis Garcia. I'm the Community Engagement Manager, and I'm here today to introduce to you one of our newest members to the Mid-County Community Council. Her name is Angel Addison. She is a financial aid advisor at one of our partner organizations, Ultima Medical Academy. Her commitment is to help students understand the importance of financial and academic success. Ms. Addison also manages the Student Ambassadors Program at the Academy. This program teaches life skills, leadership, and professionalism that she believes are the key elements for student success and goals accomplishment. Ms. Addison acknowledges that being part of a local organization is a wonderful way to connect and bring positive impact to those that she serves and are in need. Ms. Addison's dedication to those that she serves come from being compassionate, but at the same time holding them accountable. Upon approval of Ms. Addison to the Community Council, we will have 39 active community councils being represented in North, Mid, and South. Ms. Addison is here if you have any question. Ms. Addison, you want to stand up?
Any questions for Ms. Addison? Need a motion?
Approve.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And if you're opposed, that means you want to take her spot. Congratulations, welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Would you like to say anything?
I'm just really happy to be here. I can't wait. I'm excited. I went to the Christmas dinner. That was my first official, I guess. So I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to be a part of it. I'm happy to see you. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome aboard. Next, we will select our September 2024 trim hearing dates, and that will be done by Ms. Brock and Ms. Caro.
Good morning. As required by Florida statutes, we must hold trim hearing meetings to approve our budgets and our millage rates. And the first meeting must be held between September 3rd and September 18th, which is at least 10 days after the property appraiser notices go out. We also must advertise the second hearing as well, and we've got dates selected for those for you today. We are required to also check to see that we won't conflict with the school board's meeting or the county commission's meeting dates, and we've done that as well. And before you today, we have 3 proposed options that we have presented that would meet these requirements. So option 1 would be the tentative hearing date would be September 4th, and then the final hearing the following week, Wednesday on the 18th. Option number 2 would be September 11th, as well as September 25th. And option 3 would be September 12th and September 26th, which is a Thursday. All of these meetings must be held after 5 p.m., so they're scheduled for 5:15 p.m. And then I would just remind you that the second hearing date, whichever date is selected, we would move the board meeting to 3:30 that afternoon, right prior to that meeting. So I'll turn it back over to discussion to decide which meeting best fits your schedules.
Mr. Alex?
The only one I have a conflict with is the 25th, so all the other ones work for me.
I have a conflict with the 4th, although I don't mind unconferencing myself if necessary, if that date works best for the board.
I think, Olivia, were you able to kind of coalesce those? Okay.
Okay.
Because I was able to ask a few of you before this meeting, and I think the 26th had 2 conflicts among the people I talked to that were pretty hard conflicts. I think option 1 probably worked for everyone except for Judge Moore. So at this point, and then there's sort of a soft conflict on Wednesday the 25th for 2 individuals. So probably option 2 from what
We can do option 1. This year, what happened was Ms. Nage and I decided to go late to the conference, and I try to limit myself on conferences. So even if I have to go, I can leave after the board meeting. So
Oh, okay.
it'll be fine.
Okay, so
I do stand corrected on the board meeting date. That would be at 3:30. That would be for the initial term hearing meeting, not the second term hearing meeting.
I thought the board meeting was generally later in the month.
You can do it whenever you want, to be quite honest.
Oh.
You could pick to do the board meeting on the first trip or the second.
Okay.
It may be thinking about when we're ready with everything. We will not have had an August board meeting, so we could go with either one. Would you, well, we need this board to vote on when it will be. Diana, do we need to take that vote today, or could we take it next board meeting? Okay. That would be my suggestion, so I can check with folks who are not here. It's particularly important that we have a quorum and often a super quorum for that meeting, so it's a big deal. Okay, that was helpful, thank you.
Ms. Hendrick?
Yeah, is it possible for board members to participate virtually, or must you be in person?
You don't count for a quorum or a vote
Sure.
virtually.
Thanks.
Thanks.
So the next item is for approval of Microsoft Dynamics 365, and that will be done by Lynn Delatorre.
Good morning, Lynn Delatorre, Senior Manager Accounting. I'm here this morning to request approval of awarding a contract
Turn on your mic.
Warren Everett Technology Group for implementing, for Warren Everett Technology Group for Microsoft Dynamics 365, Business Central Essentials, and licensing and implementation services. The agreement is to implement a cloud-based accounting software which will replace our on-prem Microsoft Great Plains. This solution will be implemented by October 1, 2024. The agreement is for an initial term of 3 years for an up to amount of $313,696 with an option of additional successive 3-year renewal terms. Thank you.
Any questions or concerns?
Lynn, are there any, given the fact that we've had some issues along the way trying to get here, are there any contingencies or performance included in this agreement with them to make sure that they'll complete this on a timely basis as needed, or?
We'll have a timeframe. We have an implementation schedule that's designed for us to go live October 1, and we're pretty basic. We have just one general fund, so we're pretty simple to implement, so I don't anticipate any issues at all.
Yeah, I'd hate to see the dynasty take a hit because of this. But if there are there any other questions? If not, I'll motion to approve.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. We will move on to the approval for funding for directions for mental health. That will be followed by approval for budget amendments for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and they will both be done by Ms. Houghton.
Very good. Let me ask if we have anybody from Directions here, just so we're not sure if that's okay. Just wanted to acknowledge them if they were here. The next three memoranda and approval items all really, if you will, emanated from me seeking out these opportunities. So this was not agencies coming over the transom and saying, gee, please, and can we do something out of cycle, and so on. It was not that. Rather, each of these three were excellent opportunities to follow on and implement something that the board has been very energetic about pushing us even further, and that is with identified community needs to continue to get money into the community, to spend down our reserves, and I would say from my and Laura's perspective also, not do it in such a way that would typically commit us for the very long haul. These are all programs or funding that could be turned on or turned off. We would obviously do that with notice and respect for the agencies and the people they serve and so on. But if we run a deficit these next few years, which is what we have to do to spend down reserves, we can't afford, you cannot do that indefinitely. And we have a new strategic plan coming up in a few years where there may be new initiatives and things we want to do, and there wouldn't be funds available to do that. So I say that as an introduction, and then I'll talk about directions. Both the Directions program and the St. Vincent de Paul program are, I'll call it generically, rapid rehousing programs. They each have flavors of their own, and each agency brings different strengths to this work. Both have been in the homelessness space, and particularly the family homelessness space, for a very long time, and have done these programs for a very long time. Directions comes with particular strength in its connections with the school system that already established. Family Works is the name of the program, and they have case managers on site in a number of schools. Kevin could pipe in if he wanted to at any point, or just not, shake your head if I'm not being accurate. We learned through the FSI program and its connections within the community that Family Works no longer had the component of funding for last month's rent, getting people into housing when they were already homeless. It had been relying on, and a source of funding for those expenditures had been the jurisdiction. So the county, the city of St. Pete, Pinellas Park, whatever, and that source had finally dried up in all but certain zip codes of St. Petersburg. So they were effectively not able to, even though they had everything else to wrap around the family, they were not able to do that last step. So I reached out and said, given the infrastructure that you have and the wait lists that exist and so on, what would a reasonable number of families be, and what would a reasonable budget be for that? With discussions back and forth, what seemed to make the most sense was this request for $700,000, and that's for just 8 months for the rest of this fiscal year. And it would be our expectation that we would continue this program in the 2025 budget. So you'd annualize that number. And the expected, or the goal number of families to move out of homelessness into their permanent housing would be about 30 families. And give a sense of perspective, there are about 100 families, 100 plus families on the Homeless Leadership Alliance's wait list. There are many, many more families who are homeless, and there are many, many more families who are couch surfing or otherwise in unstable housing environments. These are folks whose names we know, whose phone numbers we know, for whom this is the right intervention, and they've already been screened for that. So it's not every family that's homeless, but it's ones who are really ready to go then and there. Additionally, let me stick with one program. Sorry, not talk about St. Vincent de Paul for a minute. So we already have those lined up, and Family Works already knows who they are, and they've got a lot of this already in place. There would be a few personnel they're adding that are specific to the rapid rehousing component, but we think and believe that could be done pretty quickly. So I'll answer any questions anybody has.
Any comments or questions? Do I have a motion at this time?
Second.
All in favor? All those opposed? Thank you very much.
All right, the next item is related, similar, but a different agency. St. Vincent de Paul, we already have a relationship with and have for probably 10 years relative to family homelessness. We have over that time period paid for a portion of their family emergency housing complement. They have emergency family housing at their location in St. Petersburg, but they also have far more sites that are spread throughout the community in apartments that they lease on an annual basis but can put families in on an emergency basis, as well as motel rooms. They have run a number of rapid rehousing programs for both individuals and families, particularly with veterans funding. So they were the first in our community to do that kind of work and have been doing it not only in Pinellas County, but numerous other counties for a good period of time. So again, this is an agency we already have a contract with, we already work with. They know how we do our budgets and our contracting and our insurance requirements and on, so that we can stand this budget amendment up quickly and get this started in the community quickly. Again, we're talking about the same 100-plus families. In St. Vincent de Paul's case, they have folks in their emergency housing today that they know of, they're working with, who are good candidates for rapid rehousing. So it's a very natural transition to do that. So again, it's a budget amendment of $700,000 for this year, and that is an 8-month figure, so it would be annualized for next year.
Any questions? May I have a motion at this time? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next,
I think Michael Raposa from St. Vincent de Paul would like to.
okay.
He is the CEO extraordinaire.
I knew I needed to be read. I'm Michael Raposa, and I am the CEO with St. Vincent de Paul Cares. And board members, I'm here to say thank you, not necessarily on behalf of SVDP, but more on behalf of the people that we've already been serving in the programs that you provide funding for, and for the opportunity to move these families with children out of shelter status and into permanent housing. As you well know, and I know for a lot of what I'm about to say, I'm singing to the choir, the only solution for homelessness is permanent housing. And the object of the game is to catch people quickly when the poor do fall into homelessness, and rapidly get them stabilized. And we're really, really honored to be able to serve the community. Since the beginning of the pandemic, our organization has moved 4,412 households from homelessness into housing. We serve over 19 counties, and that's 11 continuum of cares. That's 10 beyond Pinellas. And I will tell you that of all 11 communities where we serve, there is no community stronger than Pinellas that is supporting particularly the civilian population, and especially the families with children. We are the only community almost in the entire state of Florida that has private and also ad valorem funding dedicated to end homelessness. The numbers in Pinellas are about 1,563 we've managed to move into permanent housing. And you're a big part of this. The JWB, under Beth's leadership, especially under Beth's leadership, these programs have grown. We've seen great results. We're running at about an 84% success rate with the families with children that we touch. And that means that if a family has the opportunity to be referred to us, they've got an 84% chance of their homelessness being ended. Not only this incident, but our recidivism rate is under 10%. And it really is a permanent solution, and we really do change the trajectory of their lives. And I haven't had a chance over the last year and a half or 2 years where our money has dramatically increased, your support of us has dramatically increased, to come out and to say thank you. And we are profusely grateful as an organization, but also on behalf of the people we serve. You really are making a difference in these kids' lives. And I would propose that the number recorded by the Homeless Leadership Alliance is dramatically low, because I think that there's way, way more that are out there that are petrified to come to the surface for fear of implications for the child welfare system and things along those lines. So thank you for being part of the solution, and thank you for the great representation. And I actually have to run to the city of Tampa for 11 o'clock to say thank you to them, because they're doing a similar thing on the other side of the bay for us today too. Today's a good cash day for SVDP, so cha-ching. So anyway, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for what your organization does for our community. Next week, we'll have approval for a budget amendment for CASA by Karen Boges.
Good morning, Karen Boges, Chief Program Officer. I will read the recommended action first. To approve budget amendments to Community Action Stops Abuse, Hope Villages of America, and Gulf Coast Legal Services. JWB partners with CASA to provide resources for housing options to support survivors of domestic violence in Pinellas County. In the 3 programs that we currently fund are community-based advocacy and prevention, emergency shelter, and community-based housing, as well as the Family Justice Center. Hope Villages of America, we fund similar programming through The Haven, and we fund family law-related matters through Gulf Coast Legal Services. All three of these programs receive VOCA funding, which is Victims of Crime Act funding, and that comes from the Crime Victims Fund. And this has been decreasing and dwindling over the last few years. This comes from fines and fees in federal cases. So the three agencies and the 5 programs I just mentioned received significant cuts for fiscal year '24. And so we are asking today and requesting that JWB fund so that we can continue services without interruption and disruption for our children and families that are receiving domestic violence programming services. So you'll see on the chart the breakdown for each of the programs. The total is $765,564. We are expecting this to be annualized. We also will be monitoring because we are anticipating VOCA funding to have further cuts in fiscal year '25. This funding would be coming from our fiscal year '24 unassigned fund balance. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Ms. McCurry?
With this funding, is there some collaboration between the 3 organizations and support together? I mean, working together across Pinellas?
I mean, well, they cover Pinellas County,
No,
right?
not-
But yes, they.
Loriana, I mean, you and I
Yeah.
have had this conversation about a year ago, I think it was, and hoping that over time, specifically CASA and Hope Village would begin to collaborate across the county to ensure that there's the reach of everything that Loriana has done in CASA and connective where Hope Village is heading. It would just be a natural collaborative process. So I'm hoping that this helps create that. Is it or does it?
Loriana,
or-
would you like to get up and speak? This is Loriana Forsythe, the CEO of CASA.
So thank you, Mike, for preemptively bringing me to the podium so I could say thank you, first of all. But then to directly answer your question, and then I'll explain a little bit about the issues. So Pinellas County is one of only 3 counties in the state of Florida that has 2 domestic violence agencies. And so there has been historically some complications in territory and persons served and budget sizes to be able to accomplish persons served. As you know, Hope Villages of America does great work in 3 different kinds of work, one of which is domestic violence. They run a shelter, a 30-bed or so shelter. CASA Shelter is much bigger. Shelter is a very needed and required resource in our community, but it's a finite resource. By state statute, when somebody comes into a shelter, they stay a minimum of 45 days. You have 100 beds times 45 days, you have 30 beds times 45 days, you can do the math. So it's a very finite resource. Excuse me, so the funding that is being recommended to support the budget cuts by VOCA do go to help those services. For CASA, we also offer robust programs in other areas that Hope Villages doesn't offer programs in. For instance, we have our Injunction for Protection Attorney Program. We have 8 different housing programs, one of which is in conjunction with St. Vincent de Paul, where we're able to rehouse programs. So these programs are unique to CASA and our growth in the community. About 30% of the people that we see in CASA are actually residents north of Ulmerton Road, because those services are not specifically available for them in North County at this point. CASA has purchased a piece of property in Clearwater, Florida, and with this, we'll be able to offer direct injunction for protection attorneys and paralegals, and different funding sources is providing housing advocates to provide housing. We have a contract through the federal government for housing specific to North County, as well as an advocate in that space. So CASA is really providing services county-wide, but it's really dependent on funding, Mike, to be very, Mr. McCarrick. And so with these programs, it's in all 3 areas that CASA offers throughout the community.
as I said, I'm excited, I'm supportive of the process and the effort. I'd love to see more integration and collaboration amongst those organizations as you're all growing. And unfortunately, the need is growing as well.
Absolutely.
And so the more that we could see this type of things, coming together and reaching further and further, and again, with a collaborative process, while you're in your transitions to, to expand and grow, and I hope everybody's doing that, we'll see a much stronger impact on the community and the space. So I'm very supportive of where we're headed, and like I said, I'd love to see more specifically amongst the organizations that are sitting here. I mean, St. Vincent as well, all the other organizations that impact or hit this. It's important. It's one of the most important things that we need to do today to ensure that the children are safe and to ensure the families are getting the protection and what's necessary to survive and move forward.
I wanted to ask Loriana,
Yes.
oh, go ahead, did you want to
Oh, no,
respond to
please
that
ask your,
first?
no, I'll finish
Okay.
after your question. Thank you.
Could you give us a sense of sort of the trending in number of cases, number of victims into COVID, and then now right after COVID, and how that's leveled off or not since then?
Sure. So that's during COVID, obviously, we saw a rise in number of victims needing assistance. But again, taking a look at the model in Florida and how we've operated, shelter is very finite. There's only a certain number of beds that you can provide for victims of domestic violence. And so it really came to those of us, Gulf Coast Legal has experienced the same thing. They're a great partner of CASA's in trying to find other ways to serve survivors. And so the Family Justice Center, other kinds of products, if you will, to provide other types of services other than shelter so that we can serve more people, get them safely rehoused if that's what they need, get them to other kinds of services with other kinds of partners. So the model has shifted drastically during and after COVID for CASA, and I can only speak to our numbers, but I do believe this is the same for Gulf Coast. Our numbers have more than doubled in the other service areas that we are providing other than shelter, because we can see so many more people. Now, the issue with this specific funding for us, the Victims of Crime Act, is this is federal funding, and what this primarily has supported is staff and electricity costs and things like that at the shelter. And so if this funding were cut, that means reduced people to offer the services. And what we do is we're in the people business. We're sitting down with clients. We're understanding the situation. We're providing those intensive services and connections to other agencies. We don't do it all. We're the experts in domestic violence, but we have our partners at Gulf Coast Legal that are the experts in legal support, St. Vincent de Paul, that is rapid rehousing. And so it's connection to all of those community services that requires a person who's knowledgeable, trauma, and trained to be able to provide those services. So if this funding were not replaced, we would be looking at cuts to people eventually that actually provide these services to so many people in our community. And so to get back to the question on numbers, and I know I circled around, at least double what we served prior to COVID, coming out of COVID, with the other types of services and collaborations that we're able to offer. And it's only continuing to grow in the county. In our Family Justice Center, which is our outreach programs, we're seeing between 50 and 70 people a week. And that usually includes 10 to 20 children. And so these numbers are continuing to increase in our county. So I appreciate the opportunity to bring this funding back to the organization so that we're not having to hopefully face a reduction in force that are providing these hands-on services.
Any more questions? I do want to say your work does impact what it is that I do. And so I want to say thank you. I'm, like Mr. McCurrack, I'm hopeful that maybe even if we have families that are in the rapid rehousing for the other program, that they could get the services. And I know that funding is an issue, but maybe in the future there could be something done because I think domestic violence is a cause of a lot of homelessness as well.
It is absolutely the number one cause of homelessness between women and children. And to be very clear, CASA does serve any Pinellas County resident, regardless of where they do reside. So again, 30% of the clientele that we do see is from North County and 70% from Mid and South County. So.
Ms. Melissa, go right ahead.
I was just going to echo what your comments. You said them first and probably way more eloquently than I would have. So thank you for that. And I appreciate the explanation. I think your services are very needed in this area, and I'm glad we could support you with the additional funding.
Thank you very much. Very appreciative of all of the support and the appreciation for the hard work that the staff does.
Do I have a motion at this time? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we'll go to the highlight of the agenda, which is the Turbo Babies presentation that will be done by Ms. Puzzolo, Dr. Kelly, Alicia Henson, and Dr. Strong.
Good morning. Come on up, Turbo Team. Join me up here. You can stand all around here. Thank you. So good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. We are so excited to be here today to share our year one accomplishments for our Turbo Babies campaign. And these accomplishments would not be possible without many JWB staff, our community council members, EverHealth, and many other campaign partners who are helping to steer the success of this campaign. So our presentation today, you see it's a roadmap, keeping with the theme. And we're going to take you on a journey. We're going to have several stops along the way, and different folks are going to join me up here and share some information with you at the time. First, our first stop is about history and milestones. We do have some new board members, so I want to be cognizant of sharing just a little bit about our history and those milestones that got us here. And, you know, as I went back and we developed this together, there was a lot of work, great work that went into getting us to where we are today. In year one, highlights and reach, I'm going to be joined up here by Dr. Sarah Kelly. She's the Assistant Medical Director of Pediatrics for EverHealth. And Ever is one of our key strategic partners, and Dr. Kelly, a staunch advocate and spokesperson for this campaign. We're then going to hear about our evaluation plan from JWB Program Evaluator, Dr. Jesse Strong. And he's leading that charge around evaluation. I know you'll be interested to hear from him. And as we near the finish line, what's in store for year two? You'll hear from Marketing Associate Alicia Henson, and she joined JWB in October to really lead this campaign. And I have to say, Alicia has jumped right into the driver's seat. You know, all those puns I'm going to use today, so you can get used to that. She's taken the wheel, and you're really going to hear some exciting things we have in store for year two. So thank you, Alicia. Okay. So the concept of this campaign started in this very room in 2019 when Dr. Jamie McHale of our Family Study Center presented to this board. Many of you were there at that time. He presented on early brain science, and he spoke about superhighways being paved in babies' brains, and those could be good or bad depending on trauma, and that those pathways would last a lifetime. He showed the still-faced experiment, and a hush fell over the crowd, and I think it was at that moment that we were sold. We knew we needed a more intentional focus on those first 1,000 days, that 0 to 3. And so from there, in 2020, our board adopted a new strategic goal for early childhood development. And along with our new 5-year strategic plan, one of the strategies was this campaign, to launch this campaign. The next year, we seeded a 0 to 3 think tank. We created and released the campaign RFP. And then the board awarded a contract to Vistra Communications to work with us, partner with us to create the campaign. We had many focus groups, listening sessions, and then they brought those top concepts to the board in July of 22. And Turbo Babies really rose to the top. It's supercharged, it has the race theme, bright colors, and what we're hearing all over the community, you're going to hear today, it's really being embraced by those that we really want to reach, which are parents and caregivers. And then we launched the campaign officially at last year's Children's Summit. You see Dr. Kelly in the middle. She joined our immediate past board chair, Mr. Mercurak, in making this announcement. And there was a lot of enthusiasm for this campaign at that event, and I can tell you it's only growing. So a little bit about the campaign. We know that Turbo Babies promotes early connections, nurtures a baby's drive to learn, and most importantly, supports parents and caregivers as their child's first and best teachers. What the campaign is about is consistent messaging. We want everybody to be saying and sharing the same tips and facts and key messaging. And then we also have everyday activities that anybody can do to keep babies on track from birth to 3, which is our tagline. We have key Turbo facts that we have really worked hard to make them digestible and consumable for parents and caregivers. I'll never forget, Beth shared this. She said, if they remember anything else, I want them to understand learning begins at birth. So that all of the brain science boils down to babies they are born to learn. And the image of the baby girl you see up here, you'll see her everywhere. She really stops people in her tracks when we're out in the community. And it's a conversation starter. Many people are amazed that 80% of their child's brain will be developed by age 3. And it really opens the door for further conversations to share everything about our campaign. And then we also really stress early connections. You know, putting the devices down, face-to-face connections and interactions, and really positioning parents and caregivers as part of their baby's pit crew. So you'll see a lot in all of our imagery about face-to-face connections and interactions. And then our 4 turbo tips are evidence-informed, and they're the cornerstone of this campaign. In other words, we want everybody to be practicing these. We want all of our partners to be sharing these and encouraging their families to do these every day. And they really do follow evidence-based research, tuning in to babies' communication skills, talking and repeating, taking turns, and then the last one in it is importantly taking time, finding those everyday moments to interact with baby. We shared our website with you at a board meeting, I think it was last December. But our website is fun, bright, easy to navigate, engaging, but it houses all of our key messaging, our tips, our activities. And in a moment, we're going to share some analytics about our website with you as well. Our call to action on the website is to join the PIT crew, so you want to register so you can receive and stay engaged with us, receive newsletters and information, but also parents can register their child for free birthday gifts or gifts on their child's birthday milestones up to age 3. And one of the things I love most about this campaign is it's all about the power of play. So just being playful, having fun, a simple game of peekaboo can change a child's trajectory for a healthy development. And I like how simple it is. You can practice all the tips, the 4 tips we talked about in just this one simple game. So now we're going to move down the road and we're going to stop at year 1 highlights and reach. And we're going to share some data with you. If you recall, the board set our campaign goals for last fiscal year based on a percentage of children ages birth to 3 in Pinellas County. So our goal was 15% or 3,500 children. And then the stretch goal was 20% or 4,700 children. And we measured those by how many PIT crew bags and collaterals, face-to-face education that we had with parents and caregivers. We did that through 3 main ways. Through our partnership with EverHealth and their pediatric practices. So they're pediatricians and medical providers providing face-to-face education and giving out PIT crew bags. And then our other campaign partners, we'll talk about all of those in a minute, and that reach. And then also our community outreach. And what I'd like to share with you is, if you remember, our stretch goal was 20% or 4,700. So by the end of fiscal year, September 30, we exceeded the stretch goal with a little over 5,600 parents and caregivers reached. And when we look at a full year from January through December, we almost doubled our stretch goal. So I think that is saying a lot about our partners, and I think that's an admirable effort for year one for the campaign. And at this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Kelly. Yes, there you are. Thank you. There you go.
Well, thank you for having me. We are so pleased at EverHealth to be a part of this program. Obviously, as a pediatrician, I have a vested interest in the children of our county, and so thank you for the work that you guys do. And as you can see, we handed out over 1,100 bags in our offices, and as you recall, I'm sure all of you remember these from the summit last year, but these are excellent tools that we use in the office to engage our parents and caregivers in not only paying attention to developmental milestones, but also as a tool to, an icebreaker for the visit. A child can start playing with things and I can have an ability to talk to the mom or the grandma or whoever the caregiver happens to be for the day, and engage them in not only tuning into their child, but also talking to them and helping them through all of the turbo tips. We were able to train 48 clinical providers and medical staff in our organization on not only the Turbo Baby campaign, but also the science behind it and the key messaging. And as you can see, some of our quotes that you'll see here in the next slide or two, our parents and kids are just so excited to receive these bags. When we bring them into the room, their faces light up. I mean, they're bright yellow, so they're eye-catching. But then when we start going through the materials, the parents are just like, wow, there's so much in this bag. And the kids love it so much that there was, one of my colleagues told me that there was a little 2-year-old that just insisted on carrying the bag out, and it literally was weighing him down, and he was larger than him. But he was so excited to have gotten it that he just wanted to carry it home. So it's a great time for us to really drive home the power of play. And as you can see in this video clip, this is an actual patient of mine where we not only broke out all the toys in the bag, but had a chance to go through and discuss with mom the importance of all the turbo tips. I love those key rings that I'm showing her right now. What I do with my families is I ask them to put away the phone. If you're reaching for the phone, let's reach for this key ring instead. I tell them to put it in their bag or their purse or their diaper bag or the glove box of the car. And if they're find themselves where they're reaching for the phone for an app for the child to play with, let's get this out instead and do a couple of activities or bring this book out or grab some of these toys. And the parents really engage with that. It's a practical tip that they can use in their everyday life, because as we know, phones are here to stay. So how are we going to teach our children to interact with phones in a safe and effective way? And we know, particularly under the age of 2, that there's really no role for phones in childhood development, that's all needs to take place with face-to-face interactions. So kids are fun. I love what I do. As you can see, we were dancing and singing and having a good time. And we love the shirts, and it's amazing to see when the kids come back and they're wearing their shirts and they're bringing their books and their toys. And one of my favorite stories about this program was one of my colleagues gave the bag at a 15-month checkup. So in case you are a little removed from pediatric checkups, there's a cadence, right? So we see them at certain times. And she gave the bag at a 15-month checkup and had an opportunity to engage the parent on the importance of play and the developmental milestones. And the mom had mentioned as they were talking that maybe she was a little concerned about a couple of developmental delays that the child was showing. So they talked about through the bag, and on the 18-month checkup, we do a formal ages and stages questionnaire, which is a developmental screening tool, and the child passed with flying colors. So this materials work, and when we engage our families and our caregivers in the importance of recognizing developmental milestones and keeping them on track, we really can make a difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Thank you. Just seeing it firsthand and hearing her stories firsthand, I really think we can show you all the numbers in the world, but I think that says 1,000 words, and the video and engaging with families. So thank you so much. So you'll see that we also engage with many other campaign partners, and this list is only growing. These represent the organizations, but remember that oftentimes there are many programs within that organization that we're partnering with. So, for example, the Florida Department of Health in Pinellas County, we partner with about a dozen of their different programs through this campaign. We partner with Healthy Families, Healthy Start, Nurse Family Partnership, their Safe Baby Educators, and WIC. You'll hear a lot of talk about WIC. We're hearing families in the community, because remember, if families aren't engaged in a formal home visiting or other program, they oftentimes will go for nutrition at WIC. And so the WIC nutritionists have been trained, and they're giving out the same information. So families are likely getting it from a lot of different places, which is really good as well. And then thanks to all of these partnerships, in addition to EverHealth, these other partners reached over 3,300 parents and caregivers last year, giving out pit crew bags and other information. And we trained about 138, 140 last year. We're going to be a little more intentional this year with our trainings now that we have Alicia on board. But I love this quote by just one of our partners, in that they really are viewing Turbo Babies as a reliable resource and something that complements the work that they're doing. So again, remember, we want to try to get that consistent message out there through all of our partners and all of our programming. And then the third way that we reach is through community outreach events. And so you'll see us everywhere in the community, and Alicia's going to share with you later about the spectacular presence we had during Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day just recently. But again, it's bright. Folks are drawn there. They love the pop-up banners, and you saw the car when you came in as well. So there's all kinds of opportunities to partner, and we served another 3,800 last year. So our website reach, we're going to share some dashboard information with you. And just keep in mind that next year we'll dive a little deeper, and we'll look at some other analytics software where we may be able to gather and look at additional information. But in general, over 22,000 unique visitors, over 100 registrations, pit crew registrations from parents and caregivers here in Pinellas County, and then 38 pit crew registrations from campaign partners. By and large, our page views, the largest was our homepage, which is pretty common, but a close second when you add them up are all of our activity pages. So when you heard Dr. Kelly talk about the rings, she was talking about the activity card rings. Those are on those pages for 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and 2 to 3. And that's also where we have our developmental milestones. So those, that's what we would hope to see, that parents are gravitating to those pages on our website. And we know of special interest to the board was visitor locations. And so I know, Mr. Mercurak, you were asking about this. So you will see, and I'll have to pull it up here, 14% of our visitors, unique visitors, were from Pinellas County, 41% from the state of Florida, 42% from the United States, and 3% international.
Just think about that.
Yeah.
Look how far you've reached.
Yeah. And
It's amazing.
What I love about this data is we're reaching a lot of families locally through face-to-face education and our community outreach and distributing the pit crew bags. But we're able to reach for not any extra dollars all of these other individuals and really position JWB as a leader in the 0 to 3 space. So I thought this was important. We'll continue to track this, and this will be interesting information if we can slice and dice it. We can certainly look at counties. For example, when we do media reach or media pushes, we are, we're at Tampa Bay region for media. So naturally, we're going to get a lot of interest in those surrounding counties coming to our website if they're seeing us in the news. And speaking of media pushes, we do have some analytics to share. I'm going to go through these quickly. I think you've seen these before, but tens of thousands of impressions after our first media push this fall, and we're going to plan periodic media pushes throughout the year. So what I love is we were intentional in terms of our target audience, working with Vista Communications. So Dr. Kelly joined me on Daytime and Bloom TV, and then JWB's Yaritas Garcia and EverHealth's Dr. Colon were interviewed by Univision for our Spanish-only speaking audiences. We had editorials and print ads that were targeted to hyper-local audiences. And you'll see Dr. Threadgill did one of the editorials for us for the Weekly Challenger, and Dr. Threadgill with EverHealth. And then our radio spots reached Spanish-speaking audiences with a focus on dads. And then we also tested digital ads and looked for the click-through rates through to our website. Again, those were very hyper-local to Pinellas County and our target audiences. So at this time, we're going to hear more about our campaign evaluation plan from Dr. Jesse Strong, and we'll take questions at the end.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Jesse Strong. I'm an evaluator here at JWB. I also am a father. I have 2 young children here in this county. It is exhausting, if you're wondering. Yes, it's still exhausting. But I'm also a Turbo Babies father, which means I've had the privilege to take some of these tools home, even as we've been kind of testing them out and developing them and using them at home. And I find myself still using them, especially that key ring and some of the other tools. And I go to the website. And so I have a real heart for this campaign. I really care about this campaign. One of the first things we did when we started the campaign itself is we created an evaluation committee. And this committee looked at the World Health Organization model. We adopted this model. We've shown this to you before. We like this model because it's flexible in nature and it provides a space. We can create formative assessments. We can make changes as needed. If we need to make strategic adjustments because we have received some feedback, this model provides an opportunity for us to do that. Here you see the Turbo Babies logic model, and it has 5 areas, 5 domains. April and Dr. Kelly have already shared on those first 3 domains: the inputs, the activities, and the outputs. The outcomes is where we are currently at. The outcomes focus on things like the parent's confidence and their knowledge about these developmental milestones and increases in screening. As we look down the road, we're going to be looking at the impact. And we're hoping to see things like increases in VPK enrollment, increases in kindergarten readiness, and then meeting some of those developmental milestones like Dr. Kelly discussed. The primary tool that we will be using to measure the outcomes domain is a series of surveys. So 2 separate surveys. There is a parent and caregiver survey, and there is a campaign partner survey. These are different surveys. The parent and caregiver survey is aimed at the parents and caregivers to help us better measure if they've had increases in their confidence or their parents' confidence. It provides a space for them so we can elicit feedback if they have any recommendations or suggestions. And we can also evaluate some of those tools that you've seen that are here in this bag or that they've put into practice. You see there's 5 main areas that we're going to be putting these surveys out. There's EverHealth, the campaign partners, and the community outreach and events. These 3 will be distributing the surveys themselves. The 4th area and the 5th area are online. The 4th area is when you sign up to be part of the PIT crew team. You go online, you register to be a part of the PIT crew, and then you receive a survey. The 5th one is for visitors, or all those people you saw online that were visiting our site. All of those people will be receiving that survey if they're parent or caregivers or just visiting the website. And then the 2nd survey goes out to the EverHealth and all of our campaign partners. And these are 2 unique cohorts. Same survey, unique cohorts to help us with measurement. And this goes to the leadership and staff of those organizations. We find this survey to be very important. It's vital to us. These, as you saw in the video with Dr. Kelly, they are modeling how to use some of these tools. They're interacting routinely. They see some of these families routinely, either on like a weekly or a daily or a scheduled type of visit. So they have a lot of rich information that we value. We're hoping that they'll be able to provide us some of those personal experience that they're having, some of those professional observations, and then any type of rich recommendations or suggestions that we talked about for this type of model, if they are having, we can make changes to the World Health Organizational model. It's part of that formative assessment plan that we have. So we're very excited about these 2 surveys. They're coming out next month. And we hope to start then analyzing some of this data and presenting it to you in the future. And I, again, am just thrilled to be a part of this campaign. And now we're going to give it to Alicia, and she hopefully will rev you up for the future of Turbo Babies.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alicia Henson. I'm the marketing associate for JWB. Like April mentioned, I started back in October. It has been so fun to be a part of this campaign. I mean, I think what's so powerful about this is how often do you get to be a part of something that is fun, it's lighthearted, right? Like it's bright, it's fun, and then it's also life-changing. So that is super impactful. I'm super excited to be a part of this campaign and also share with you what's next in year 2. So we are off to the races. Yes. We have been doing so many things, and what April and Dr. Kelly and Dr. Strong mentioned earlier has been making a real impact in our community. So much so that my very first week at this organization, I was at a High Point family event, tabling with Turbo Babies, and a mom walked up and said, "Hey, I got a Turbo Baby right here." So it is just amazing to see this campaign be so embraced by families, mothers loving it, caregivers loving it, grandparents loving it, and you can see he's excited, you can see I'm excited. So we're excited to keep the momentum going and shift us into next year. So this milestone, or this slide shows milestones of what we're planning for year 2. So we just came off of an amazing Dr. MLK Jr. weekend, which I'll share details about in a bit. We're also planning some really awesome partnerships. So we've already been in talks with organizations like Great Explorations Children's Museum, the Tampa Bay Rays, and we're looking forward to really building those partnerships, growing more partnerships, and letting that be a fun and creative way to get this campaign out to the masses. I believe these partnerships are going to allow us to just do different things, kind of paint a picture of what we're planning. We can do things like Turbo Babies family nights, immersive installations at some of these different museums, stand-in kiosks where people can come and get the information as there's foot traffic going through some of those places. So there's tons of different ways that we can partner, and we're looking forward to dreaming up big dreams and big plans. You can also see that we are going to be doing some community outreach events. We're going to be strategically doing more community outreach events. Baby Talk 2024, partnering with the Grand Families Resource Events put on by our great community engagement team, and of course, St. Petersburg Grand Prix. It's the Grand Prix. We are Turbo Babies. We've got to find a creative way to be a part. So it might not be right on premises, but we are going to find a way to be a part of the Grand Prix and put this campaign in collaboration with that event. You'll also see that we are launching our parent and caregiver survey, which Jesse mentioned earlier, and then of course our website, news blog, and e-newsletter launch. And last but not least, we are going to continue to do our targeted earned and paid media pushes. So in addition to being out in the community, giving that face-to-face education, we want to make sure that we're still reaching those wide audiences. So we're going to be reaching audiences through television, radio, and print ads. You'll also see here on this slide, Turbo Talks launch. Isn't that a fun name, Turbo Talks? I love the alliteration in this campaign. We are excited to have Mr. McCurrick by my side as we go out to some of these different organizations like the Rotary Clubs and the Kiwanis Clubs and Junior League of St. Pete. And the aim of those Turbo Talks is to let everyone know that everyone has a place in the pit crew. You know, even if you are not a parent of a 0 to 3-year-old, you have a place in the pit crew. It takes a village, right? And so that is what we're going to be relaying at those Turbo Talks, as well as the key messaging of this campaign and the Turbo Tips. You know, if anyone ever met a baby, they should know the Turbo Tips. So that means everyone in Pinellas County should know the Turbo Tips. So we are really, really excited about that. We are also working to do more community outreach events. And as we do those community outreach events, we're going to be making sure that we know, or that the community knows where we are, where we're going to be, where we've been. And so that takes me to my next slide of last weekend. We had a phenomenal time. And you'll see so many great pictures, so many great photos from the MLK celebration. So we were all throughout the county. So from the top of Tarpon, you can see the picture in the top corner with myself and Joanne Reach, our North County Community Engagement Advocate, Ms. Caprice Edmonds of Help Me Grow, Carmen Lake, she's a JWB Community Council member. And so we had a great time there at that breakfast and resource fair later on that day. You'll see Linda Leedy, our Chief Administrative Officer, who joined the pit crew over the weekend. She threw on a shirt and joined the pit crew and was hand delivering messaging to people on the parade route in St. Pete. Jamie, with her adorable turbo baby, Owen, came and joined us for the parade, and I think I heard someone say, that's the best thing I've seen all day. So he's definitely a showstopper. And it was just a great opportunity to reach so many demographics. You know, we got to talk to fathers, caregivers, parents, grandparents. And we even had some community members, a neighbor, donate a really nice car. We did not pay for that car. Put the Turbo Baby messaging on there. So it was just really, really great chance to get out into the community, be face to face with folks, and just tell them about Turbo Babies. And like April mentioned before, to hear back how it's being embraced is just really refreshing. I was giving brochures out, and another mom said, I have a Turbo Baby. And she went on about how she had visited the WIC office, and they gave her a pit crew bag. And then she started saying the Turbo Tips back to me. And I'm like, wow. So it's just amazing to see it be embraced, to see people recall it. You know, she didn't have any information in front of her. So it's really, really working. We also got a chance to debut some of our new branded materials. We've got a nice, beautiful tent that has that messaging on it. We've got that, jaw-dropping statistic, 80% of brain growth happens before the age of 3. And then we did have a chance to show our new toddler car. That thing is a big deal. Everyone who goes by it says something, and you can imagine if adults are attracted to it, kids are even more attracted to it. So kids will be walking by, their heads are turning, and they're bringing the adults over to the tent. So it's really, really worth the investment. It's a small investment, not even very affordable. But no, it's been great. The MLK weekend was a blast, and we're going to continue to do more community events, just like this one. And with that brings me to our website updates, because we want to make sure that the community knows where we are. And so we're going to be expanding our digital presence in year 2. We're going to be working on a parent and caregiver blog, which I like to call Pit Crew in the Community. That blog is just going to encourage parents to submit photos of them doing turbo tips with their little ones, maybe those different activities, really get some social proof that this thing is out there, that people are enjoying it, and that it's effective. We're also going to encourage our partners to show us where they've been in the community, where they've been tabling with Turbo Babies materials. All of those partners are out there, so we want to see where and when that's happening, along with upcoming events, so people can know when to go places and be there with us. We're also going to work on implementing the parent and caregiver survey on the website, putting that on there so as people are browsing, they can be prompted to take that survey. And then we're also going to be working on a routinely sent newsletter, which is going to just reinforce some of those turbo tips, keeping those turbo tips at the top of mind, making sure that parents know what we're doing, how we're doing it. And then also it's going to be another vehicle where we can share stories, highlight upcoming events, and then also remind folks to take the survey. All right. So, not quite ready for questions yet. As you can see, we have some big, ambitious goals for year 2, but we're confident that we'll be able to keep pace with our progress. As we are moving along, we're already seeing some of these goals take shape. For example, our partnership with Help Me Grow and Champions for Children has created a natural warm handoff where we're seeing some folks get referred to developmental milestone screenings. So those outcomes that we're looking for, we're already seeing some of those take shape. What I hope that you've gained from today's presentation is that this campaign has the power to lay a foundation of lifelong learning from the start line of birth. We all know that babies don't come with a user manual. Right, Dr. Kelly? But we hope that this Turbo Babies campaign will offer a roadmap for healthy development and help parents and caregivers steer and cheer their little ones across the finish line. So thank you. Now we're ready for questions.
Any questions or comments? Yeah, you just turned yourself off.
Okay, I was on, I didn't realize it was on. Fantastic job. I mean, congratulations to everyone involved in this process going forward. I think we all knew we were heading in the right direction. I don't know that we could have even imagined how far you've gotten. What's impressive again to me is, that's why I asked you for those numbers before, is look at the reach that this has. I'd like to see Pinellas keep growing, so we need to work on that. But it puts Pinellas on the map. It puts the JWB on the map, and it says, statewide, US-wide, internationally, what we're talking about, what you're talking about, really is important and really is something that everybody needs to look at. And I'm not crying, but these lights kill my eyes for some reason. And so there's tears always coming, and every time I walk in this room, the same thing happens. So it's not because of this. But it's so amazing to be able to see the broad impact that this is having when you look at the 3,300, and the 22,000 people that have gone and looked at this. Clearly, it says babies are our future, and we really need to focus on that. So again, commend everything that you guys have done, commend everything that you're doing. Expectations are extremely high right now for what the future is going to be. And the Grand Prix has been something we've talked about for a while, so let's sit and talk about where we can place that. I know a couple of restaurants downtown that might be able to do that for us. So keep it going. Keep going, don't give up, and make sure that at some point in time, we'll be able to say every baby we've touched, and now and in the future. So again, thank you.
Yes, so my youngest is 4, so actually even before I became involved in JWB, I had heard about the Turbo Babies thing, so I have an almost turbo baby. But this program is really close to my heart because I still have young children. So I have a 9-year-old, a almost 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So this is, I think, super important. And obviously I work in child welfare as well. So both personally and professionally, I think this is it's one of my favorite things. I love it so much. I think it's super important. at work spouting off facts all the time. I did, so that's keep it going, I'm super excited. I might bring my 4-year-old to ride the little car.
We're gonna have to get Porsche.
Yeah, it's gotta be a good one, or a truck or something, I don't know. I did have a question about outreach. Has there been any specific outreach to foster parents or foster parent training or anything like that? I think this is like an area where, because we have a lot of foster families that then in turn help families that are involved in the child welfare system. And I think that that's a way to kind of move forward into the, pass that information forward as well.
No, absolutely. We haven't yet, but my background is in child welfare as well. So I think that's super important. I think we can reach out both to FSS and also probably through our alliance, partnership with our alliance and our foster parent associations.
Yeah.
So
And then
Guardian Ad Litem, I
Sure.
mean, there's endless possibilities there, but I think that that's definitely a group that we could reach out to.
I just know any of the programs that do the foster parent training would be a really good opportunity to kind of pass that information forward, or maybe just do separate training for them during their foster parent training classes. And then relatedly, has there been any specific outreach to the programs that offer those parenting classes for families who are involved in the child welfare system, like PARDA's parenting classes, Suncoasta's parenting classes, any of those other, programs that offer like DCF approved parenting classes, I think is another area where I would love to see that information and parents coming in with that.
Yeah.
the
I
Turbo
think
Baby
at the
stuff.
training table or the parent education groups, that's excellent.
Yeah.
We are working with Operation PAR and some
Great.
of the others that you mentioned now, whether or not they're using that in those classes, but
Mhm.
we can follow up with Amanda and others there and have those conversations.
Wonderful, thank you. Keep
But
going, it's so great.
Absolutely, thank you.
This is such an exciting program. I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you so much, and thank you for all you're doing to make this program reach nationally. I have a little cousin who was born in July, and I started on this board in August. So I grabbed a bag on my first or second meeting and brought it over there, and we've been implementing it. So it's been a lot of fun to learn about the strategies. But I also wanted to ask, have we provided this information to all of our partners that we provide funding to?
Hi, I can answer that.
Okay.
We have outreach to all of our partners. So when I mentioned earlier, our early learning centers, our home visitors, home visiting programs, infant mental health clinicians, et cetera. It's, first year was getting the logistics in place to keep up with demand, to be honest. So we have another round of Turbo Baby bags coming, and Alicia and I are doing a lot of orientations with all of our funded agencies.
Great.
But we also don't limit it to our funded agencies. So I'll give an example with our club. So we fund many programs with our club. They're a great partner, but we do not say you can't use this information or this, with your other childcare centers or early learning centers. So, but we are working through that list. That's kind of what we call like our low-hanging fruit, our funded agencies. But we have the partners that you saw up there are the ones that we're working with, and will definitely continue to grow.
Okay, perfect. And then my next question was going to be about how much we are spending on this program, and then are we increasing that with the demand? I didn't know if that was you
And I can
question or a
speak,
Beth
well, I
question.
can speak on that too. So we did increase the program budget. Thank you very much to the board for approving that for FY24. We did add additional funds because we knew we were going to have a full year and we were going to be scaling up to add those extra partners that we talked about. And so our budget right now is a little over 500,000 and for FY24. And from that, we do both the EverHealth Pit Crew bags, we do the campaign partner Pit Crew bags, then the strategic partnerships that Alicia spoke about that may require some support of funding, and then all those community outreach events that we support as well.
And how much did we spend in '23 on this program?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, how much did we spend in '23 on the program?
I don't think we left much money on the table, so I would say about 300,000. I can get that exact number for you.
No, I was just curious.
Diana. might have that, exactly.
I didn't have the budget in front of me. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, ladies. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just two comments. One, I see the JWB team out with your tent and tables and cars all over the place, and you always look so professional and so happy to be there. So thank you for representing this program in JWB so well. I also wanted to just thank Dr. Kelly and the Ever Health team. I mean, this is not something you all have to do. You're doing it because it's the right thing for children in our community, and it takes a lot of time. Appreciate the videos and things like that, but I also can tell your excitement for it, that this is an everyday walk for Ever Health. So thank you to Dr. Threadgill and your team for being partners in this work.
I just wanted to respond to Ms. Nage. Turbo Babies has been integrated on some level as a part of ECC Court. Our parenting time coordinator did reach out to get more bags because she does visitation. And we're seeking to actually partner because early childhood court is 0 to 5. So we're going to try to make that as a part so that our team can help the families and the caregivers implement this. And then secondly, I have accepted your challenge. My goddaughter is my great niece, and she was born in July, and so I need to learn the turbo tips, and I need to make her a turbo baby as well. Yes. Great presentation.
I just wanted to talk about how disciplined and professional and targeted this team has been in bringing us this far. Early on, we had the what we wanted to do and why we wanted to do it, with that core knowledge that a baby's brain is 80% of the neurons and so on are there by the age of 3. Then it was what can we do about it? How can we reach out into the community? And I know there have been times, I remember particularly Mr. Bartlett, who had his first grandchild. He's like, when are these going to be ready? I need them for my grandchild. But the group took time to do it right. And I think now you're really seeing the benefit of having done that right. Everything from the subject matter exploration and the clinical input to very carefully listening to the community and the target audiences about which, and focus groups on, the colors we use, which I think we heard 5 or 6 times here. The parents love the bright colors. And I remember at this board table us talking about the cost per bag of those. Gosh, they're bright yellow and they cost more, and are we sure we couldn't tone down the colors? But but you guys supported it because it was going to make an impact and do the right things. Everybody who's standing up here are just amazing. April, who has shepherded this from the very beginning, Dr. Kelly, who's been an incredible advocate, and you can't get any better than having a pediatrician who uses it and promotes it across, everywhere from, ABC network to, to within the clinic. Alicia is a new member of this team. She's not excited about it at all, which is the only thing we have a problem with. But she is now full-time dedicated to this program, and we did not have somebody who was full-time committed, and we've got to do this. And obviously, Jesse and the evaluation group, who from the beginning were embedded in this work so that we could see whether we're making a difference or not, and if so, how. And I wanted to mention a few other people who don't always get as much credit, but who are just extraordinary partners for us. Joe Santini, I see in the audience with Ever Health. So, we have this at the executive level within Ever Health. We have this wonderful relationship who, as Mr. Hendrick was talking about, they do the right things in the community because they're the right things, not necessarily because you can bill Medicaid for them or, whatever. And so you see that in Dr. Kelly's leadership for sure, and you see that organizationally within Ever Health. And we and Joe and others and Ever do all kinds of things together, and that's amazingly powerful. They are the largest single pediatric provider in the county, and absolutely, and by by leaps and bounds, the largest provider of Medicaid services to children in the county. So we can go directly there and work with Evra and immediately have a really meaningful and very professional reach. Ray Hensley, who is with the Department of Health, and our second Dillinger McCabe Putting Children First Leadership Award, under his auspices are the home visiting programs that we talked about that are incredibly powerful, have that one-on-one connection with families in their home. And they are all using the Pit Crew bags for one entire home visiting visit in order to sit and talk with the parents about how to use those things, and they model using them. You don't get more impactful than that. Hearing from your pediatrician and seeing him or her, mostly her, but anyway, you use those with the child and with the family or the home visitor. So we're blessed with some really good community partners. Thanks. Yeah.
I just want to emphasize one aspect of the evaluation methodology, which I think is going to be very important. And this is particularly our partnership with Evra Health. As you know, when you do these very broad-scale community outreach events, one of the things that's difficult is to look at longer-term impacts and the ability to follow people. But with the Evra Health cohort, because pediatricians tend to follow children longer over time, and Commissioner, I mentioned this to you particularly, we will be able to follow these children into their early grades to know what really some empirical evidence that this program strengthens their performance in kindergarten, first, second, and maybe even third grade, to the sense that we can track them over time, which is ultimately the cornerstone of this, because we have different kinds of evidence of learning. There's immediate learning, and then there's carryover into structured learning. So the fact that we have the Evra Health cohort that we can follow longer gives us an opportunity to look at that as well.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next, we have our CEO Officers Report by Beth.
All right, well, it's been a great month. First, you may remember that I was invited to serve on a White House roundtable discussion of how the entertainment industry can better portray and support children's mental health and wellness in the field of films and television. Well, at that event, I connected with leadership from the Nationwide Children's Hospital and their campaign On Our Sleeves, a national movement centered on children's mental health and wellness. So this tells you that we went up to Columbus, where Nationwide Children's is, last week. Wow, it seems like a longer time ago than that. So that group, the Powerful Five, went up to Columbus, yes, in the winter, to visit and get some background on their program On Our Sleeves, which I'll explain a little bit more. First, a little bit of background. Nationwide Children's Hospital is one of the largest children's hospitals in the country. They provide services not only through Columbus, but throughout Ohio and beyond. And they have the largest behavioral health service for any children's hospital in the country. In 2015, Nationwide Children's Hospital recognized that children's mental health was a growing national crisis, needing a prevention strategy, and it was included as a pillar in their strategic plan. I will just tell you, it was amazing to see everything that Nationwide Children's has. They have deep services all the way from prevention to crisis and inpatient care, and absolutely everything in between, all very much best practices. So also in 2015, recognizing the need for prevention and the national crisis, they launched a program called On Our Sleeves, I have it on good authority, it's going to be rebranded in March. But what that means to them is that children do not wear their feelings on their sleeves, and that we, as the adults who are around them and touch them, that we need to learn how to start conversations so that there is an ongoing conversation back and forth, and we can understand a little bit more what's going on with kids and respond appropriately. So today at Nationwide Children's, nearly 1,000 mental health professionals and researchers are there. So you have a huge cadre of subject matter experts. And so in partnership with other trusted experts, they provide real-world knowledge and expertise too on our sleeves. In 2022, more than 6 million people accessed resources for their home, their school, their organization, or their workplace. I've described this amazing cadre of people, from subject matter experts to content writers to creative people, that they have as April Puchaloo on steroids. It's like, you know, we've got it right here, we just have it in one person. So there's, but they've literally got this whole cadre of people who take the subject matter work all the way to very consumable parent tips, including activities and so on, with website presence and resources of all kinds. So I brought you back a souvenir. The deck of cards you have sitting in front of you are on our sleeves conversation starters that you may use with your kids, grandkids, or kids that you know. And that's just one of the many, many resources that they have developed. So with all of these synergies between our Children's Mental Health Initiative and their work, we decided that this was something that was important for our community, but that we might not need to develop it and invent it on our own. It might well exist, and we did a lot of research across other resources relative to prevention, including but not limited to social media, discussions with kids, and all of those topics. And so we decided to take a group to meet with and tour their programs. And so last week, go back a slide maybe, Linda Leedy, Becca Teeter, Becky Albert, April Puchaloo, and I visited Nationwide Children's Hospital. It seemed like a lot of people to take on one trip, but I guarantee we all saw, participated, and saw different parts of what this campaign could and would do. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say Becca Teeter had this amazing contact. It's a shock to you that she would. And with a key member of the On Our Sleeves team, and that's what got us in the door to the White House. That's what got us in the door with Columbus Children's and On Our Sleeves. And then everybody else on this team had a lot to give. So we were there to both hear and understand their clinical expertise and the topics upon which they were working and had expertise, but also to understand more about the On Our Sleeves potential programming and partnerships. And we had that kicked off, I would say, but there's a lot more to do. So we are now in the process of identifying ways in which we may serve, for instance, as an evaluation site for piloting, because we have such strong data collection and evaluation ability. Potential partners like an Evra Health or Department of Health that we have access to at the community level. And we are looking at possibilities then to gain use of or co-brand some of their materials. Some of the channels through which these might go, and they're specifically designed, for instance, for out-of-school time providers. They have an entire set of resources that are built and created just for out-of-school time providers, frontline providers. Potentially, they also have a whole line of materials and activities specifically for school teachers and teachers at the front line. That might be something we talk to our friend Mr. Hendrick about. They have parenting resources, many of those directly on their website. You can go to that website and see. They have another band of materials and resources created for employers to provide as sort of a wellness benefit to their employees, particularly around the stresses of being a working parent. So these are just some of the possibilities that go forward. So we're very much at the beginning stage. There are a lot of things just at the threshold to work out legally as to whether this would work. But we look forward to coming back and reporting to you on our progress on that. So we're very excited. Dr. Martin Luther King Day Junior Day events. Oh, look at this crowd. This was a picture taken at the MLK breakfast in St. Petersburg. And you see Kristen and her daughter, who I have on good authority. Some of the messaging sunk in, go figure, right? Judge Moore and Brianna, and Linda Leedy. And Linda was ready to go to her next stop as a pit crew member to some of the other activities that went on. So here's Melissa Rutland and Kristen Nage at that event. We're so pleased that you could join us there. Let's see, do we have some other, there we go, some our staff members and families. Oh, up in Clearwater. So we were simultaneously all across the county. So this is the Clearwater breakfast. And there's our own board member, Chris Latvala. And this was that at the breakfast, or is that? Yeah, okay. At the Clearwater breakfast. And what else do we, oh, and this was a picture you saw, a little bitty, but here's Alicia, and we have our own Jamie Cole and her son Owen, who is absolutely as adorable as he looks. And the Turbo Babies car that, as was referenced, a community member donated to us to use for this purpose. And it's in JWB orange. I just want to note the branding is really important. And the table work out in the community, there was a huge event at Tropicana Field. And we had this amazing table there and a kiddo. And the pictures in that car are going to be all over the community. So that's another way of spreading the word. So not only do the kids love the car, but the parents love taking pictures of the kids in the car. So that's all good. Anything else on those? So want to especially thank Alicia for leading the charge with all of this community work and helping to reach hundreds of families on this very special day. JWB continues to seek out opportunities and best practices to foster a healthy and supportive workplace. And as such, we're taking part in the survey that is part of Tampa Bay Business Journal's Best Places to Work. This would put us in the running for Best Places to Work with Tampa Bay Business Journal, but I would tell you the real purpose for us doing this is it's an excellent survey tool, and they do that work and give us reports. So we're really mostly looking for, actionable ways in which we can understand, where we're strong and where we have opportunities from that survey. I would just tell you, I'm really proud of our staff. 80% of them have already filled out that survey. They have till the end of the month to do that. So we've got a very high participation rate already, but we certainly hope to see, we're shooting for 100% because we really want that feedback. This is all third party, all anonymous, but with meaningful reports that we would get back. Also let you know that we have been tapped to participate in a community dialogue series that St. Pete Free Clinic is sort of coordinating. And Becky Albert, our strategic initiatives manager and our key person in all things children's mental health, she was asked to participate on a panel because we as JWB are a major player in this space, and because Becky is so knowledgeable and so connected across the community in a whole variety of ways, for her to lend her expertise. And a second panelist is Dr. Jennifer Katzenstein. She's a renowned neuropsychologist, the co-director for the Center of Behavioral Health, the director of psychology, neuropsychology, and social work at Johns Hopkins All Children's. And we work closely with her in a variety of ways, including the fact that she's chair of our Children's Mental Health Initiative's workforce design team. So we have great partners all across the community. As an alum of Leadership St. Pete and their 2015 awardee for community leadership, I was approached about being profiled in their newsletter relative to my experience and the way in which Leadership St. Pete was important to me and is important to me. And so I also saw the opportunity to make a connection there for JWB. We hosted Leadership Pinellas meeting in this room where we were able to share information about JWB and the work that we do and issues surrounding children. And they were able to use this as the first stop on a county-wide bus tour that they did to look at human services across the community. So we're working to create that same contact with Leadership St. Pete. We'll see, but you know, as golfers say, never up, never in. You know, you've got to propose things and try. So we're looking forward to that possibility. And then a reminder to all of you, the 2024 Children's Summit is Thursday, March 7th from 8:30 to 10, as has been for a while at the SPC Seminole campus. It is always a really extraordinary meeting of community leaders across the county, and we are able to sort of up the information level and the understanding of children's issues within the community. The theme this year is the power of connections, and the program will focus on the importance of relationships, belonging, and digital wellness for youth. So it crosses those pieces. So more details about the event will be coming, but please mark your calendar. The Finance Committee meeting that was originally scheduled for February 29th has been rescheduled so that we can have a quorum. So it's being rescheduled on March 1st. And after that event, we will be celebrating or grieving Laura Brock's retirement. Laura Brock is retiring from JWB effective March 1st. And so literally she's staying until the Finance Committee meeting, which was her commitment. Laura's been an amazing member of our team in so many ways across the last 4 years. She's not only extraordinarily competent and has an incredible background, but she's known to all the people who work for her as just being kind and caring, remembering people's birthdays and those kinds of things. So everything across the continuum. Those of us who work closely with her within the executive team will miss her a great deal. So what are we going to do? Well, this is going to be a very hard position to fill, and I don't mean to say we will ever fill her shoes as such. Finance and accounting professionals up and down the line, from Fortune 500 down to entry-level accountants, are at short supply. Every sector is struggling to try to find people with those credentials. So it will be particularly hard to do that. We expect to engage a recruiting firm who specializes in that space, who has people on their old term Rolodex that they can call who are not out in the market but might be interested in the position if pitched. Our interim plan is that I will cover the CFO role, and all of the people who reported to Laura will report to me during that time. And although we haven't worked out details, Laura has said she would be happy to do some consulting work with us, and if we can carve out some some spaces and work that work for her and work for us, we will probably do that. So the Finance Committee meeting on March 1st is at 10 o'clock. The reception will be, for her, will be right after that. I would say probably 11:30 in room 105. And you are all very welcome to come and stop by and honor Laura, embarrass her a little bit, maybe, whatever. The last thing I wanted to mention is that you are no doubt aware of House Bill 7013, which is the bill related to independent special districts. That a bill is both in the House and a companion bill in the Senate. The bill, as it was originally written, had a whole variety of requirements for additional requirements for independent special taxing districts. One of those in the initial bill as filed was a requirement that every independent special district go to referendum in fall of 2026, and then every 10 years thereafter. And the point was very well made by a variety of special districts, particularly fire districts, that having that referendum hang over the heads of their organizations and ours would be really deleterious for recruitment and retention. If employees cannot be absolutely sure that we're going to be in existence past 2 years hence or X years hence, that's going to put a drag on recruiting and retaining people. While JWB absolutely believes that our community knows who we are, appreciates who we are, and we have lots of folks within the community who would speak up about our importance, that being thrown into every other special district in the county, we might get swathed with the same brush that others do if all of those hit at the same time in 2026. So we do have some concern about the referendum requirement. We obviously would, were that to be required, there are a number of strategies that we would employ. I would have to mention one of the things that became law a few years ago is that we as JWB would not be able to spend JWB money to educate the community about our benefit and value for the referendum specifically. So we would be reaching out to those who know us, love us, and care about us, including you, and probably past board members were that to occur. Now, the good news is in the Senate, in the House a few days ago? Okay, yesterday, thank you. There was a strike all amendment filed that would, in the Senate bill, delete the referendum requirement entirely. It keeps all of the other new requirements, but would delete that. So that is an amendment in the House, which is where this bill started. There's not yet, it's only been a day, a companion amendment in the Senate, but we look forward to that and think that makes the most sense, not only for us, but all of the independent special districts. So I know Colleen is here. If you have any other questions that I might not know the answer to. Okay. All right, that's my report. Thank you.
We're at the open agenda phase. No, the informational items. Any questions, or does anyone need any further information on our informational items? Colleen, we're at the open agenda. Do we have any? Okay, so we're at the milestones, and I'll ask Ms. Houghton if you would acknowledge the milestones for JWB.
Happy to. So December anniversaries were Gail Ingram, 2 years. Immaculate Matt, 2 years. William Bravo, 2 years. And Lilia Pletnev, 18 years.
Thank you for your service to JWB. Do I have a motion for adjournment? All in favor? I seconded it in my head, I'm sorry.